On today's episode of the Upstage, open class is a toss-up, COVID is hitting hard, and Carolina Crown has an app.
Welcome back to the Upstage. My name is Luke.
And I'm Josh.
And we're going to start today with the thing that is sweeping through the activity, which is unfortunately COVID. Corps are missing performances, they're missing clinics. Josh, what do you think of what's going on right now?
Look, I think as a spectator, it's tough to see this, right? And it's tough to maybe miss out on a corps performing at the show that you'd be, going to that night. However, what I do hear is that the administrations are taking the best care of the students and staff that they can. That's the most important thing. So if that means that they maybe need to skip a show, skip a clinic, or just give them an additional day of rest between things, right? That's what's most important. So whatever it takes to get to Indy at the end of the season successfully and safely, that's the right thing to do.
I totally agree. And we see this not only in this activity, but in things like professional sports, sitting out in the middle of the season. All signs point to Indy. Let's make sure we get there safely.
Yeah. Now, speaking about Indy and specifically speaking about the things that we see on the field, there's a lot of creative use of props this summer, and specifically the use of elevating the performers off the field. So which corps and which props have caught your eye?
I don't think you can talk about props this year without talking about the mandarins. I mean, it's just so cool what they're doing. Of course, they've got these kind of big props, they move around the field, but the effect of the years when they attach them all together and they spin as one huge unit and members are going over and they're going under, it's crazy. And then on the other side, you see corps like Vanguard that just have an incredible amount of props on the field. It's really overwhelming. So I love what we're seeing, especially from the corps out west.
Yeah, there's two corps that come to mind immediately for me. The first, Boston Crusaders, and sort of these pyramid props that they not only climb on, but then also they sort of tilt them down onto the field and spin them around like tops.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So I think it's a really, really cool element and sort of added dimension to the field. Speaking of added dimension to the field, right, you also take a group like the Troopers, right, and they're elevating their cello soloist on top of this big oil rig. So, these are impactful, and these are big things, that are changing the scope of what the field looks and functions like.
Now, moving on to DCA, we're seeing some really cool uniform announcements, which we don't usually get out of DCA. So the Reading Bucks just showed their new uniform. What do you think of what they've announced?
I think it's awesome, and I think that it shows that DCA is just as legit as DCI, right? So it's really exciting, and the Reading Bucks uniform looks like the Reading Bucks, right? But it looks like a new version of this, so I think it's really cool. I mean, they're the perennial champions, and what they do is captivating sort of across all spectrums. So I think it's awesome, and honestly, I think that everybody should be paying attention to DCA this summer.
Yeah, everyone's got to tune in. There's some really cool stuff going on in DCA, so tune in, check it out. It's super cool. Love what the Bucks are doing.
Yeah. Now last, we heard this really cool story about the beginning of the summer where Arsenal Drum and Bugle Corps almost didn't come out. However, we learned about this. So why don't you share a little bit more, Luke?
Yeah, I was actually talking with their executive director this week, and he was telling me that they had a core group of vets that wanted to march, but they actually didn't have enough members to actually fill out the drum corps. So those vets came to the director and said, we want to help. So they said, give us the emails, give us the phone numbers. So they got out there, they contacted people, they knocked on doors, and they filled out a drum corps. And if you look at their social media, it's so wholesome because they're just so excited to be performing and having a season. This is one of the best stories that we've seen out of DCI so far this summer.
The Mandarin's use of a singer this year is bold, right? He's killing it. He's out there with a wireless mic out in the middle of the field on top of the props, right? So they're asking for it, but you know what? They're giving it to us. So kudos to you, Mandarins.
The word is pop-y because we see this in all other areas of the entertainment industry. So we see some sort of lead singer with kind of a backing band, and then there's like all around the arena and they're up on props and they're kind of the hero singer. So I love seeing that being brought to the drum corps field, and I think the Mandarin's use of it this year is actually going to help them leapfrog and move even further up. This is really interesting because at the first meeting this year, Gold actually won the show by a couple of tenths over BDB and SCVC. If you go all the way back to 2018 though, the last time they were all at championships, They actually lost their first show by over 4 points to SCVC and BDB. So this might be signaling a changing of the guard, but we'll have to see how it all shakes out at the end of the season.
Look, this is exciting not only for open class, but for world class and the whole drum corps activity, because you know what? Gold is now in the mix and should be part of everybody's discussion from here to the rest of the season. So I would encourage everybody, make sure that you check them out, right? And then not only talk about BDB and SCV and some of the other open class greats, right? But gold is here to stay. Look, I think Music City is making a statement this year. What Shane Gwaltney and the design team and also the instructional team, along with the members, are doing is they're making a statement. They're coming out, they're being really intentional, you know what, and their show is exciting. So this is not only exciting for right now, but this is exciting for years to come, because what this is saying is that Music City is now going to be part of the discussion moving forward as an elite drum corps.
And I think the thing that's actually making that happen is two things. It's actually the show, which is kind of dark and aggressive, and it allows those performers to really dig in. And then it's the performers themselves. They're stepping up to the plate, and as of right now, they're actually sitting 14th in the standings. Now we'll see how that all pans out when they all get together, but this is a really good sign for them. This could be their best finish yet. This is a really interesting topic because, as we all know, there's no app column on the judges sheet, but there is a general effect column. And this is exactly what I think we want out of drum corps. We want the audience participating and thinking about this and talking about this. So yes, I believe the judges should be thinking about this during Carolina Crown's show.
Look, there's plenty of things that are not on the judging sheet, but you know what? The Carolina Crown app is part of the show. It's part of the audience, right? And it's changing the whole performance medium. So if they don't use the app, then they're not giving Crown their full opportunity. All right, so I don't know if you saw this, but in the middle of Indiana, somebody has a full basketball gym for sale. So whoever's in the market for that, whoever's looking to start an indoor group or needs a rehearsal space for a drum corps perhaps, if you've got $300,000 to spare, I'd say you go after it.
Yeah, $300,000 is a little less than I actually thought it would be, so that's good. But the clip that I saw, shout out to Aaron Owens from the Blue Coats, who makes a trick shot in the gym, the volleyball into the basketball hoop. That's hard on its own, but it's even harder doing it with an audience. So shout out to him, Austin native, James Bowie High School, UT Austin. That is the shot of the week.
The second decade of DCI brought monumental shifts to the activity, including the first three-peat ever. The cadets and George Zingali led the way with innovative drill, paving the road to the complex movement and visuals we see today.
We also had more corps experimenting with cohesive programming and storytelling. Santa Clara Vanguard's 88 and 89 shows, both based on the Broadway musical The Phantom of the Opera, are widely regarded by fans to be some of the most influential and popular shows of the decade. We also saw the rise of Star of Indiana, first coming onto the scene in '85 and making finals their first year out. From there, they began their journey to redefine the activity that we all know and love.
So this summer, Crown was the first corps to break 80. Does that mean it's their year?
It could. I mean, 4 out of the last 10 DCI champions were the first to break 80, so that's not really that significant. But Crown is very good this year, so it definitely could be their year. BD only wears their jackets for the first 30 seconds of their show. Why would they do that?
Because they've got a great relationship with their corporate partner. But also, you know, that might be what their show just calls for. So if it works for them, I'm fine with it. Now on social media, there's lots of talk about slotting corps at this point in the season. What do you think about that?
Well, I actually do think slotting is happening, but I also think that's a natural part of the judging process. It's the early part of the season, not all the corps have seen each other, and it's been a couple years since DCI has been scored. So I do think this will all shake out when they all get together in the next week or so no concerns here, but that's all the time we have for today on the Upstage. Please be sure to check us out on the Flow Sports app, and we'll see you in the next episode.